Okay, next is pre-processing data. So when you have data that you have set up in SAS, you have created a data source. Now you want to examine the data and then see what kind of adjustments or transformations that you have to make. So first is, of course, you have the types of variables. So you have categorical variable and numerical variables. So numerical variables can be continuous or integer. Now SAS uses the terminology interval for numeric variables. So both continuous and integer variables are classified as interval. Okay, so there is level and role in SAS. Okay, level is where you identify the type of variable, and for numerical variables we will use interval. Now categorical variables, you have ordinal and nominal. Ordinal is where the categories are ordered in a hierarchical order, whereas nominal is a categorical variable where there is no hierarchical order. And these are the examples of that. So SAS uses ordinal here, and unordered it uses nominal. So when you have numeric variables, SAS, enterprise miner, and any mining technique will handle the variables as is. You don't have to do anything. But there are some methodologies that require not too many values for an interval variable. Okay, if interval variable has tens of thousands of values, then the methodology, like for example, naive Bayes. Okay, naive Bayes is a method that would break down if a variable has too many values. So in that case, you have to bin them into bins. So instead of having tens of thousands of values, you will have only like 50 values for that particular variable. But sometimes when the numeric variable has lots of values bunched up together in one end of the scale, and then a few values which are really large. For example, salaries usually sometimes it happens that most salaries, annual salaries, are somewhere between like 50, 60 to maybe 200, 300,000. Most of it would be in that range, and then there are few which are in the millions. So when you have values spread out like that, most of it bunched together in one small range, then some very large. So in such cases, you may have to do some transformation. So you can do log transformation, or you can normalize or standardize. So these are the things that we can do in SAS Enterprise Miner very easily. We will be looking at those at the right time. Now when you have categorical variables, okay, in naive Bayes, in most cases, naive Bayes it's used as is. But in the cases where calculations are made, like regression analysis, you have to add them up and find average and so on and so forth. If you have a categorical variable and you have text there, how would you add them? There are no numbers. So categorical variables will have to be converted into what are called dummy variables. So if you have categories like student major, so you have management, marketing, accounting. So that particular column will have MGT or ACC or FIN and so on. So that will have to be converted into dummy variable. So you'll have one dummy variable for each possible value. Okay, not for all of them. So if you have k possible values, then you need only k minus one dummy variable. And we will talk about that a little later. Next, variable selection in the data preparation stage. If you have lots and lots of variables, then it becomes really cumbersome to run our data mining models. So for example, if you have a database that has like 2,000 variables, so 2,000 variables is too many variables to maintain and to use properly. So we should want to reduce the number of variables. Okay, so approximately, so this is a kind of a thumb rule. We need, if you need at least 10 records per variable. In the case of target being nominal, so if you have m possible outcome classes, Then p is the number of variables, so 6 times m times p is generally a thumb rule. The larger the data that you have, the better it is usually. But if you have too much of data, too many variables, then you get into trouble. So you need to reduce the number of variables, and there are some methodologies that you can use. Which variables are useful and which variables are not useful, and you need to consult with the domain experts. Domain experts are the ones who will know which variables are valuable, which variables are not.